Welcome to the show. Man, we got so much to talk about today. We got to talk about Greg Sankey, who has made comments about the leadership in college football, and some members in the SEC, they want to break away from the NCAA. The Big Ten and the SEC having their own conversations and so much more. We got Brooks Austin in the building, and we got to talk about each SEC team's fears for this season. What is their biggest fear? We got to talk about if you would hire Brian Kelly, because on the Vortex show, he said some things. He wants to get back into college football. Would you trust Sherrone Moore with your college football team? And also, there's a bipartisan proposal in the U.S. Senate that could allow universities to pool media rights. Is this a good idea or is this a bad idea? That and so much more. And of course, we have in the last block today my quarterback tiers, ranking all the top quarterbacks in college football, given what tier that they are in. This so much fun, so exciting. Keep it locked here. Make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show, because sharing is caring on one of the fastest growing college football channels in all of the land. And make sure that you guys go check out our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Download the app today. Use promo code Unafraid, and you will score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5, and that's promo code Unafraid. So, fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are all back, and Underdog's the best place to get in on all the action. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Let's get to the show. Business time now. So Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, he made some comments. He said, quote, "I've acknowledged that there are those who have said that we should go our own way," talking about the SEC. "And I don't think that that's the right decision. We have relationships and responsibilities within Division One. Like, people are tired of talking about name, image, and likeness. They're tired of talking about all the lawsuits. What they want is, in a way, what the president spoke of. I want to go back to when we focus on the fields, the tracks, the swimming pools, and it was about the combinations, and we need national standards to achieve that objective." Now, there's multiple parts to this. So the first thing is, yeah, he's right that we do need to be focusing on academics. We need to be focusing on what's right for the kids, all of this stuff. But the thing that we cannot ignore is that in the president's thing, and then with the SCORE Act, these other meetings that have been happening, a lot of these people have an agenda. This is about power. And I want you guys to start thinking about this and looking at this from a bigger picture. And I know we all root for our teams, Alabama fan, Auburn fan, Rutgers, USC, Oregon, UCLA, Baylor, whoever you're a fan of. I 100% understand you wanting the best for you, right? But college football is an enterprise. The best thing for you in the long run is what's best for the enterprise in the long run, which is to grow the money, grow the pie, have a sustainable model, which the current rate of college football is not sustainable. You had Urban Meyer and other people, oh, college sports are broken, and there's not going to be enough money for women's sports and all this stuff. Well, first thing is, nobody is forcing the universities to spend 90% of their budget on football. Now, granted, I know football makes the money, but there has to be some sort of responsible spending and some sort of hard cap and rules surrounding that govern the sport. A hard cap from what a school can pay a player, or their partners can pay a player. Like, every player on LSU's team can't be getting a deal with one particular entity, because that's not name, image, and likeness. That is pay for play. Quarterbacks have more value. Star players can have more value in terms of advertising out in the world. But these have to be real things. And I'm not trying to cut into the kids' money, because I want my kids to be able to make as much money as humanly possible. But I do also understand that this is a business and this is an enterprise, and it needs to be looked at that way. And the reason why the Big Ten and the SEC are talking about, well, potentially breaking away and from the NCAA and all that, because they want to retain power. They want to retain and stay up here while everybody else stays down here. And within the SEC, the major players, they want to stay at the top of the SEC. Ohio State, Michigan want to stay at the top of the Big Ten. They don't really care what happens to Rutgers and Northwestern or Vanderbilt. They really, in their hearts, they really don't care. The conference cares, but each individual school does not. When in reality, a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's exactly why it's very important what is going on with this bipartisan U.S. Senate bill. It's a proposal that would allow universities to pool their media rights and negotiate broadcasting deals, potentially generating billions in additional revenue for college sports. Now, the proposal would also support scholarships and Olympic sports programs while addressing financial disparities across the conferences. So let me explain to you why this matters. Because this is essentially a bill that would amend the Sports Broadcasting Act. And that would allow colleges and conferences to pool media rights and negotiate broadcast deals collectively. Why this matters is because look at the ACC, for example. You have Florida State and Clemson making the most money because historically they've been the best. Other teams at the bottom of the ACC, they're making less money. So they realistically have no chance to catch up. So that's the first thing. Now imagine a world where because right now currently ACC has its own deal with ESPN, Big Ten with Fox, SEC with ESPN, Big 12 with a number of partners. Imagine if all of that inventory were put together. That would generate significantly more money than what you are currently getting. Let me explain to you why that would be beneficial for everybody. So for the power conferences, now imagine a world where there's an even split between everybody. Oh my God, that's socialism. It's exactly what happens in every single other sport. The broadcasting deals in the NFL, each team has its own deal. I'm sorry, each league has its own deal. They pay the teams out evenly from that. Now, granted, the Dallas Cowboys are more valuable than, the Arizona Cardinals. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they all have the same salary cap. They all have the same earning, quote unquote, potential. The Dallas Cowboys are just in a bigger metro, historically good franchise, but you can grow your brand. You can grow everything. But there is potential there. And the reason, and you're able to pool their rights. So now instead of broadcast companies, CBS, NBC, Fox, ESPN, all that stuff, only trying to show a certain percentage of games, now they got to pay for all of these games. And they're going to bid each other up. And then you're going to be able to cross. So SEC games would be on Fox. You would have, because they would bid on games like they do with their television partners already, including CW, CBS, like all the people in between. They all bid on the games now. They would pay more for everything. And do you know what that would fix? That would fix the schedule issues. You know how I've been complaining. I was complaining about SEC non-conference schedules. I've talked about Indiana, Ohio State 2 years ago, Nebraska this upcoming year. Anybody with 3 free non-conference wins is atrocious and it's gross. When you're intentionally not scheduling 10 Power 5 games or 10 Power 4 games or more. Atrocious. The networks will fix that. They will say, as a requirement for this, we need more good games. So that will fix the schedule issue. And it is also believed that it would create more than $9 billion in new revenue for college sports. So now the networks would then be forced to put more basketball games on network TV, swimming on their streaming channels, gymnastics, all of this stuff as a part of their streaming package or their terrestrial television package. So now you're going to get more visibility on that, more advertising. This means more dollars for everybody. The only people that are against this are people who want to keep other people down and at the bottom. That is the only sensible explanation for it. College football, I believe, if they look at college football as an enterprise in the next 10 years, it will be the second most popular sport in America, period, and generating the second most amount of money. So now the pros for this are that you could generate a massive revenue stream from an entire college sports ecosystem. Number two, you could help preserve women's sports and Olympic sports that are often on the chopping block. Number three, you could reduce financial pressure on the NIL arms race and in terms of coaching salaries and facility spending by there being a salary cap because of that, which is easily enforceable, more easily enforceable then. And you could actually create a more national, coordinated media strategy instead of fragmented conference by conference. And then you got, you know, Greg Sankey lobbying for his conference, Tony Petiti here, your mark over there, Bev Quad with Notre Dame. Everybody's lobbying for their own self-interest. That's why it matters. Now, people are going to push back with some cons to this, right? First, the Big Ten and the SEC, they have argued, put out a whole white paper against it, that pooling media rights, it could create bureaucracy, legal chaos, and even reduce revenue long term. It ain't going to reduce revenue. It might reduce revenue for a couple of schools that are getting an uneven share, or that reduce revenue in terms of what they believe the Big Ten could earn or the SEC could earn on a per school basis, but you're actually going to flatten it for everybody, and then that would be a higher number. But all of this is posturing as a con just to retain power. Now, the other potential con is that it could shift power away from the conferences that built the most valuable brands and TV packages, and that this is an interference from the proposal to pool and sell the rights together. Well, is there a problem with that? Exactly. Number three, changing the Sports Broadcasting Act could reopen major antitrust and governance fights in college football. Highly doubt it, because then you would have a CBA. Number four, more money does not automatically solve the biggest issues in sports: calendar, NIL disputes, athletes' rights, employment status, transfer chaos. But it kind of will force you to do that, because once you have pooled the media rights, that means you have one entity that is negotiating on your behalf. That means it's going to be easier for the players to unionize and then negotiate with with that one entity too. Come on, man. Facts are facts around here. And you guys make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the show, and most importantly, share. Now we got to get on to the next question. Brian Kelly. So Brian Kelly had this to say on the Dvorak show.
Let's put it in perspective. You know, I've had 33 years in this business, over 300 wins. You know, I've had two losing seasons in 33 years. You know, my entire career has been built upon, you know, having some kind of success. And when you get fired, you're told that you're not the guy for the job. And so, you know, that's probably the first thing. You start thinking about, you know, the things that you've done for 3 decades. And, you know, I don't know that you question, but you look carefully about why this happened. And look, the easy answer is I didn't win enough games. I mean, you know, that's the bottom line, right? Um, but we came there to build a program, and we didn't get a chance to finish it. So I think probably the overriding emotion in that respect is, um, disappointed that we didn't get to finish the job. I think that's probably the one thing, because I've been in it long enough to know, as you said in your first comments, you're in this long enough, you're probably going to get fired. But I never thought that that would occur. So I think the emotions more than anything else for me was disappointment.
Now I got a question. Does that sound like a man who doesn't want to coach football right now? No, that sounds like a man who got humbled. And here's the thing about life. We all got to eat a slice of humble pie sometimes. Sometimes, depending on how big of a slice you have, is how big the ego got. And Brian Kelly said he did not believe that he could get fired. He knows that everybody does, but not me, though. I'm Brian Kelly. I'm a winner. I do this. I'm making all this money. My buyout's high. They were like, we do not care. And we will get you up out of here too, fam. So his comments led me to believe a few things. Number one, he wants back in college football right now. And he sounds like a man who's been humbled and is thinking, oh, wow, I should probably take an analyst role. I would love Brian Kelly to take an analyst role at Oregon right now. Would love it. Former head coach. He knows offense and defense. He's done good jobs. And sometimes you just need to get a fresh start and see something different. So that means that he could actually do a better job at his next coaching stop, which there's a lot of people who would be better off hiring a humbled Brian Kelly. But also, I believe that when I look at that, I'm like, yo, the man ate his piece of humble pie, and he's like, let me get back after it. I love that. That's what redemption stories and redemption arcs are built upon. You don't want somebody that's just gonna ride out into the sunset and be like, "Hey, give me my 54 million and I'll go on my way," because that lets you know that that burning desire within them is gone, and that means that you shouldn't be coaching anymore. So the fact that he wants to get back on, you know, it ain't about money. This is about pride. This is about redemption and wanting to do a good job. So I wouldn't, so in him sitting out this year, but then being a part of a staff, having to be under another coach, he hasn't had that in a long time. And that's the type of humility and type of, and the type of thing that can propel you into a next level of greatness. So I'm excited about it. And I would absolutely hire Brian Kelly if he takes an analyst job somewhere else next season, next offseason, or when these coaches start getting fired, he would be one of my calls at that point in time because humble pie is always good for the soul. All right, another coach, Sherrone Moore. So we just figured out that Sherrone Moore is not going to jail. Major charges against him dismissed. And he went from, as my grandma would say, from sugar to shit real quick. He went from the top as Michigan's head coach to now, would you ever hire Sherrone Moore again? And if so, where would you hire him? I believe that he's going to have to take a bit off. He may have to go back down to either being a position coach or he may have to go down to, which is probably his best bet, go down to NAIA, go to Division III, because somebody will hire him as a Division III head coach in like 2 years. But the biggest question is, can he be trusted? That's part of the biggest responsibility of a head coach or of a star quarterback or anybody that you pay a lot of money to. Are they a good representation of our organization? Are they a good representation? Can we trust them not to be texting Instagram models? Can we text him not to be having an inappropriate relationship with somebody on staff? Can we trust him? And the issue with that is there are some people that will never trust you again. There are some places that he could never be hired. But I actually believe that he has to not only do a one-part rehabilitation on his reputation, he's also got to do a two-part of it. So one, he's got to restore his reputation or build a new reputation as a, think about what Sark had to do when he was at USC. He admitted that he had an alcohol problem, all those things, goes to Alabama, ends up getting a Texas job, right? But there was a long road in between there. He had to show that he could be trusted again. Now, people typically have a little more forgiveness for dependency issues, particularly when there are steps that you can take to prove. You can be going to AA. You can be doing all these things to make sure that you have the support that you need and people can actually see it. A sponsor, you can have all of these things in place for years and people are like, oh, okay, cool, he's good now. But when it comes to women and bad decision making, that doesn't get rehabbed quite as quickly. And there are some people that have had infidelity in their lives, and they're like, listen, I don't even want nobody that's been out there with that, nothing like that on my staff or this. So he's got to rehabilitate his reputation, whether that means finding Jesus, finding the Quran, finding whatever it is. He's got to get in the messaging business in a couple of months about how he's a changed man. You can't do it yet. You got to wait some time. You got to go dark for a while. Then come out, leadership panels and all of this stuff. I've changed my life, all that. But the next thing that he has to rehab is his coaching reputation. Because when he was the head coach at Michigan, there was a lot of people that did not believe that he was a great strategist, that he was a great recruiter, that he was great at the fundamental jobs. So then he has to, when somebody does give him another chance, if it's a lower level program, he's going to have to build up that muscle, his football reputation, because that's why somebody like Rick Pitino has been able to come back. And other coaches have been able to come back after they had scandals and all of this because they won on the field. And ultimately, people want winners. So if Sherrone Moore can prove that he's a winner at lower levels, and then people desperate in the next level up will give him an opportunity. And then once enough time has passed and you have shown no issues, no trouble, they do your background check, they check with people around you, and everybody, and you're coming up aces, then you get another shot. But is what it is. But you guys, though, would you give Sherrone Moore a job? And how long would it be? Leave it down in the comments. And also, would you hire Brian Kelly? Leave it in the comments. But you guys, we got so much to talk about here on the show. We have up next Brooks Austin. We are going to go over every single SEC team and what their biggest fear is of this season. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show because it's Unafraid Show, baby. Thank you for being one of us. I'm in the building with my man, Mr. Brooks Austin. You can find him at Brooks Austin BA. Go on YouTube, the Film Guy Network. This man's breaking down film like you, one of the best in the business doing it. Man that knows about calf sizes, quickness, quick twitch muscles, and everything else. And he reps the South. Brooks, man, thanks for coming on, man.
Man, I love how you take off-the-record conversations about objectifying male bodies, and you bring them right into the introduction right here. Yeah, I tend to do that. As an evaluator of football, I tend to objectify the male body every once in a while. Hey, calf size is important. Calf location important. How high up on them calves is that muscle definition? All that is important. Yeah. I'll be looking at dudes. That's what I do. I'm a film guy. That's what I do.
Hey, one of the funniest things is like when you're at the combine and you watch the coaches. Now, I've been up there at the meat market, but when you're sitting in the stands, when you're sitting in the room when they're doing height and weights, it's kind of creepy because the coaches are in there like, look at him. Look at him. You're just like, oh, settle down, bro.
I mean, I had one of these moments today, George, where I'm breaking down Alabama quarterback tape, and I get to the tight cut immediately of Austin Mack, and I'm like, hey, give me a second here, but that's a good-looking dude. I mean, he's 6'6". Look how thick his thighs are, and I'm like, all right, I got to stop. Let's move on. Let's watch the ball.
I saw real. Austin Mack.
I mean, it's real. It's a height weight sports, like height weight speed sport. So, like, how big you are, where your mass is located, how you move, like, all those things are really, really important as much as we joke about it. Like, the greatest coaches of all time on the defensive end, like defensive side of the football, when they look at defensive linemen, they watch them from the rear. They're trying to see how wide that human is.
They'd be like, oh, he's got a wide ass.
They got a wide ass.
Yeah, we can put a little weight on that thing.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about what's going on in college football right now. There was just a White House roundtable. There's another roundtable going on now. Everybody wants to save college football and college sports in general. And to me, Brooks, we've had Greg Sankey speak out about the future of college football, saying that some of the membership of the SEC wants to break off. There's rumors about the Big Ten and the SEC that they're now willing to talk about the college football future. And for me, I'm sitting here. This feels like a power play to me, that nobody actually wants to give up power. That I don't understand why we're not looking at college football, why the leadership is not looking at it like an enterprise, right? Like, make college football better instead of saying we got to keep the SEC at the top, or the Big Ten, or the ACC, or the Big 12. It feels like a fool's errand to me.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's lobbying for individual power of conference, right? That's what it feels like. Every time one of these commissioners speaks and speaks out, individually they speak as if my conference is the best. I'm lobbying for my conference. It feels like that's what they are, just like conference lobbyists when they speak publicly. I look more at what they've done collectively and the tea leaves that they've dropped, like, collectively, because they don't do a lot of joint statements. But last offseason, do you remember the Memorandum of Understanding? Do you remember when they brought us that?
Yes.
Which was basically the Big Ten, the SEC, and Notre Dame getting together and making the rest of the sport in college football, not the other sports, but just in college football, making them sign a document that basically said, you are a lesser than. I am better than you. I am here to protect the longevity of the sport by letting you know that we are more important than you, and you're going to sign on the dotted line agreeing to that, and thus allowing us, the actual power brokers in this sport, to decide what the future of the sport is going to be. All right, that was signed. That was signed by Big 12 commissioners. That was signed by ACC commissioners. That was signed by the non-group of fours. All right, it was the Memorandum of Understanding. We called it on our network the Memorandum of Supremacy. Yes. Letting everyone in the sport know that we are top dog. We will move this sport how it's supposed to be moved. So what does that mean? And what are some other tea leaves that they've dropped? Well, if you've listened to Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner as of late, they have let the world know they're going to 24 teams in the college football playoff by 2029. And it's going to happen. And they are willing to go to 16, all right, by before 2029, but only under the promise that we will be going to 24. And so I'm like, that gets reported like 2 months ago, and everybody craps on it. Everybody's like, it's a terrible idea. 24-team playoff, hell no. And then about a week ago, Josh Heupel, an SEC football head coach, is like, hey, you know what? 24 might be a decent idea. And then Kirby Smart, an SEC head football coach, is like, you know what? 24 might be a good idea. This is how this happens. Like, they talk in front of individually. Like, Greg Sankey's going to be like, SEC, 16 tight teams, well, yada, yada, yada. But when they're behind closed doors collectively bargaining as power brokers themselves, they have a clear-cut mission. It's 24, and it's a super league, essentially, including Notre Dame. And I'm sure we're going to pillage some other teams from some of these lesser than conferences at some point. I pay attention to what they do publicly as a collective.
When I was talking to Kyle Whittingham, when I interviewed him last year in Utah, he said, we are 5 years or less away from a super conference. And he was the only person that I interviewed out of 10 coaches last year. 45-minute interviews. Only one of them was willing to say that. Well, actually, I didn't even prompt him to say it. He just came out and said it. Some of the other ones said it off the record, but he was just like, yeah, here's what's going to happen, and here's how it's going to happen. Now, I've been a firm believer that
sorry.
A super conference.
What's even scarier about that Kyle Whittingham comment is that he just photo retirement to get into one of the conferences that's going to get joined in this Super League out there at Michigan. So,
well, see, I feel like that they were forcing him out, and he was.
Oh no, they had the next head coach, all that good stuff, but he was off. He was on the bench for a very short time period before he was one of these jobs is open.
They made it clear because remember, it was painted originally as a retirement, and then 10 minutes later, no, he's not actually retiring. He's just stepping back into a different role. And I was like, I know what you up to, buddy. I know it. So I'm a firm believer, though, Brooks, that collective bargaining is the only way forward. That means that all of the commissioners and the NCAA, they have to give up power. There has to be one single entity that the players who need to unionize can then negotiate with. And then guess what happens? We don't need executive orders to try to, which aren't going to work because the next president can change them. So you actually have to get laws on the books. An antitrust exemption is not going to solve it because you've had things like that and they continuously get blown up in court. So collective bargaining, that means that the players and whoever's in charge, that one entity, they will talk about eligibility. They will talk about contracts. They will talk about all of these things. You won't have Darian Mensah leaving under contract because he won't be able to. You won't have players checking out not during the portal and then just unenrolling and enrolling at another school. Collective bargaining, it protects the schools, it protects the players. And then they're like, oh, well, the players don't want it. No, only the top 1% doesn't want it. It's just like the collective bargaining in any other sport it's not best for the people who make the most money. It's actually best for the other 99% below them.
Now, George, this might not be as entertaining for our audience as it is for me because I'm an inquisitive person. You've been in these rooms, you've been in collective bargaining meetings, and you've done this because you've played professional football. You've been in a CBA. Yeah. I've always thought that collectively bargaining for college athletics would be impossible. The weakest sports union that we have is football professional unions because they're A, too large, B, they scatter the needs of people from $40 million athletes to $800,000 athletes. They don't collectively bargain for anything together. They have different needs. So that's first and foremost. But we're talking about a body of student athletes or athletes and employees in college football that are much, much bigger. Yes. So if that were ever to be successful, in my opinion, we would have to get to a dwindling of parties, meaning we're probably going to have to get to some type of super league where we don't have 138 teams collectively bargaining because Wake Forest's needs are totally different than Ohio State's needs. God forbid we extrapolate that out even further. UTEP's needs do not equate to the players on Georgia's roster. So I do think to ever get to some type of collectively bargained agreement, don't you agree we'd have to get to some type of super league because we have to separate the differences in employees?
Correct. There's going to be because the needs are so different, but so you may have to have one for whatever that super league is, and then you have one for the FCS level, have one for the G5 level, or maybe the G5 gets lumped into that some sort of way, and then there's Division II. So yes, the needs are different, but your alternative is to continue to try to put Band-Aids on a gunshot wound. The only way is to blow it up.
The only way, in my opinion, like you said, I don't think an executive order is actually going to work. I think it's going to have a little motion at first, and then it'll get shut down. I mean, even the president himself was like, it's going to get sued into oblivion. we're hopeful that we get a positive judge that sees it our way. I think everyone agrees we have to get some type of regulation on the sport. And the only way to get some type of regulation on the sport is to no longer violate antitrust lawsuits, which means we're going to have to separate essentially football from college athletics.
Yes.
And that's a real sore, touchy subject, because the whole reason most people love college football, at least in my early childhood and when I fell in love with it, is because of the school allegiance, because it is the uniform, because it is the university, because my dad did go to that school, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I did go to that school type of
but you're going to get more
university.
kids, though, Brooks. Like, I believe that you're going to get more kids staying at schools for longer within.
That's great for the general health of the sport and for those teams. I'm just saying you're going to have a hard time. The moment we separate football from the school, you're going to have a hard time getting over that barrier for traditionalists. And I think traditionalists at this point no longer exist anyways, because we're all like, what in the hell? We're getting bombs dropped on us from a change of sport standpoint, left and right. We're like, what the? All of us traditionalists have been going crazy for like 4 or 5 years now. So give me some type of stability, even if it feels different. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and it's an adapt or die sort of situation where it's like, let's go back to the old days. Man, you cannot put toothpaste back in the tube once it's out already. There's nothing you can do about it. But Brooks, I want to get on to this season because we got oh my God, we just finished, I believe, which was one of the best college football seasons that we've ever had. I loved the fact that Indiana won because it gave everybody hope, right? And this is what I've said that every college football fan needs. And you can tell me what you think about it, because traditional people have argued me down. George, it's been like this forever. The Alabamas and the Ohio States are way up here. Wake Forest and Indiana and all these schools, they don't need hope. And I believe that in the attention economy that we live in, that fans need to believe that within 3 years, if you get the right coach, recruit the right players, and recruit the right transfer portal people, that you can too have a chance to win your league. I believe that is best for the health of college football.
George, I love you to death. I do. I think you just provided a whole lot of false sense of hope to a lot of people. I'm known as the film guy. I know you watch ball. I know you know ball. I think saying that what Indiana has done is replicable is so disingenuous to the coaching job that Kirk Cignetti has done. The coaching job that Bryant Haynes has done, the coaching job that Mike Shanahan has done, like the type of coaching and the type of execution that football team has had for the last 24 months is not replicable. No. I don't think. If it was, like, we would have a different story like this. It would have happened in the prior histories. In fact, it was easier to be one of these. I'm not calling them a Cinderella story, but from a blue chip, like what we know about talent acquisition and what great national championship rosters look like from a talent standpoint, they are not replicable. They are a different storyline. Now, I think that is a absolute testament, in my opinion, again, to the coaching job that Kirk Cignetti has done. Because when I watch them on tape, man, and even like in the upcoming draft, they'll have the number one player drafted, and then we'll go like 50 picks before another Indiana player comes up off the board. And they went 16-0. They are the best college football team ever. I have said if anyone goes 16-0 in a 12-team format, you are the best. I have no like debate. Like you did it. I didn't think it was going to be done. I didn't think anyone was going to be undefeated anymore. They did it. So they're the best team ever, and they will have like nowhere near the amount of what we normally correlate to draft success and teams. Like even that Michigan team was a team built off depth and age in 2023. Guys, they broke school records for draft picks. They had 13 guys drafted. Like normally it happens like that. They did not. So that to me is a coaching thing and an execution thing. And it is replicable at Indiana. I think they're going to keep churning this thing out. I just don't know how everybody else says, oh, I can do that because they did it.
Well, see, I'm not speaking about a national championship. I'm saying that within 3 years, that if you get those things right,
like you can actually compete.
Yeah, correct. That you can be in the top end of your conference. And and you can have something going, because I believe that parity is best for college football. I'm an Oregon guy, dude. I played there. So, of course, I would love this system benefits Oregon. It is just fine. But I believe that for the health of college football, sometimes Oregon does need to be bad. And Purdue has a chance to win a national championship. And then, that way it's more cyclical, like the NFL, where the Kansas City Chiefs were really good when I was playing. And then they were bad. And then they're really good again. And then they had a down year this year. I believe that those types of things are best for the overall health of the sport.
My counter to that is, and I know we're not in a debate format, we're just having a discussion. But my counter to that is, like, look at the NBA right now. The NBA has nothing but parity. Haven't they had a new champion the last 7 years? And their growth chart is like this. I think there is something about fandom. There is something about general American audiences that having a champion to knock off is something that is needed. Having a regime to go after is needed in this sporting world, that we can't be churning them out every year. We can't just be like, now totally it's this team's turn. Like, we have to have something to like known commodities in the sport. So I think we're in a magical era where we kind of have the best of both worlds, where there's 30 teams that have the budget and the resources and the abilities to compete at a high end level. And we have a pool of 70 teams that matter. I think that's a good place to be. I don't think we need to be where we were, where there were 6 teams every year where we felt like there could be. And I don't think we need to be on the whole other end where everybody's got a chance every single year and everybody's 7-5. Yeah. I don't think that's good for the sport.
Well, yeah. So I don't want to flat like where, it's 7-5. Yeah. I just think that you should have.
I think we're in a good and happy medium right now where we are.
Yes.
From a parity standpoint.
Yeah. To where, the big names aren't going to make the way Texas is not in the college football playoff every year. Alabama's not in it every year. Georgia's not in it every year. And that you have these other teams that can spike up. That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
But now I want to go on to the SEC, because we got to talk about, so we've talked about on the show the Big Ten's biggest fears of this year. But we got the SEC. Each team, their biggest fear of the year. I'll let you go first, because this is the conference that like the back of your head. You live amongst these people. I've lived amongst these people as well. So when they say it matters more, I 100% agree with that. It does matter more to people in the South. I was born in Memphis, lived there for a long time, lived in Florida, so I get it. Lived amongst all the Florida Gators on my team. But we will start with the Alabama Crimson Tide. What do you believe their biggest fear, like deep down inside their soul, that they don't want to admit that they are afraid of this season?
That the offensive line didn't get rebuilt like they hope it did. They have 7 new offensive linemen, I believe it is. Most of them, I think 3 transferred in from SEC schools. So that would be a primary concern. Like, I think I just got done watching both quarterbacks. I think both quarterbacks are uber talented. I think they'll be fine at the quarterback position. Weaponry wise, like, I'm a big Latsier Brooks fan. Like, I think he's an elite weaponry guy at the slot position. We'll see what they ultimately get out of Noah Rogers, the transfer from NC State. Derek Meadows, a former 5-star wide receiver, can he develop out there on the edge? And obviously, everybody knows and is well aware of Ryan Williams and whether or not he will return to kind of that freshman lore after a down year of sophomore year. But none of that matters if they can't block people. It's bad. It's so not, like, people say Alabama standards. It's not even SEC standards. It's not even good SEC standards the last couple of years at the offensive line position. Their damn quarterback played last year with back spasms and cracked ribs to finish the season. That's what it was. So their biggest fear is offensive line. Defensively, they'll be great. It'll be really, really hard to move the football against Alabama this year.
I totally agree with you about the O-line, because watching Alabama not be able to run the ball, rush for like 1,300 yards on the whole season, you were like, what? Yuck. And so
you can't take their leading rusher the last 2 years and have him combine for 1,000 total yards.
That's sad. I believe their biggest fear is that Kalen DeBoer is a very good coach. He's just not an SEC coach. and that it's gonna either that or it's gonna take him longer to figure out the dynamics of winning in the SEC at the level that Alabama believes. Because with the way college football is trending, and I know Alabama fans don't want to hear it, Brooks, but they're not a super money school. So they're more trending out of, from one of the top programs. They feel like that they're headed to be a top 15 program instead of a top 5 program.
I mean, they'll be preseason ranked somewhere around 12 to 15 for the first time in a long time. So, I mean, I do think they need to adjust their standards from an expectation standpoint of, like, used to, you had a talented roster that felt like you could roll everybody, and if you didn't, it was a lack of coaching. Well, now, dude, you're going to war every single day where the point spreads are no longer Bama minus 17.5. Now they're Bama minus 4.5. And that's still because they're Bama. And they're still really talented, by the way. Like, if you look at what they did in 2026 recruiting wise, I know that's what I always look at for how much money you have available. Are you signing blue chip prospects in high school? Because that costs money nowadays. They still do that. They're still recruiting really, really well. So they have some type of resources, but I'm with you. They're not one of these $40.5 million rosters, $45 million rosters. They're not.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the Arkansas Razorbacks. New head coach. I believe Arkansas's biggest fear is that they're going to have to apologize to Ryan Silverfield. That the way that they treated him and when he took that job coming over from Memphis, they're like, oh, fine. I guess we'll take him. We didn't get Alex Golish. We didn't get Rhett Lashley. We didn't get anybody we actually wanted. But come on, whatever. And he goes out and he does a good job. And then they're going to have to apologize because then he's going to say, I know we got this Tyson food money, but y'all don't really love me like that. So if Kalen DeBoer gets fired at Alabama or Florida State opens after this year or something, I might go where I'm actually wanted.
You're higher on the Silverfield stock than I am. Silverfield had the best mid-major job in the world. I don't think people know that. Like you made a joke about Tyson food money, buddy. He just came from FedEx money down there in Memphis. Like, he had more money in the American Conference than maybe the bottom half of that conference combined. Like, if I took the bottom 6 teams in the American and put their roster value and combined them, they probably don't equate what Memphis spent last year on that 3-loss football team. So I'm not as big on the Silverfield situation as most people are, at least going in now. The early results have been really, really good. I mean, I think he flipped 7 in-state recruits the day he had his introductory press conference. He doing something right.
Yes.
Now, so there's going to be some juice there. I mean, they're not going to be a 2-win football team this year, I don't believe. I didn't think they should have been last year. But here's my biggest fear as the SEC homer that you labeled me to open. And there is some of that.
I am an SEC. I just said that you are a man who knows the SEC.
Hey, George, I'm honest. I'm a little bit of an SEC hack. I am.
Okay.
Here was my biggest like, when Bob Chesney looked at the Arkansas job and was like, you know what? I think I'd rather go to take that second best job in LA. That to me was like, the 13th best job in the SEC for my money is not as good as the 15th best job in the Big Ten. I need to start changing my tone.
You think UCLA is the fifth?
Buddy, I'm giving where they've been the last 10, 15 years. That's what they have been. The last 10 or 15 years, UCLA has been a non-competitive football program, even when they had a decent football coach in Chip Kelly. In my mind, that's how I view it. This has been changed, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
When Bob Chesney looks at both of those jobs, I would assume got calls from both of those jobs and was like, I ain't going to Little Rock. Hell no. Like that to me was eye-opening. That was like, oh, maybe all of this stuff I've been thinking about these jobs is totally different now. And to me, it is. I'm changing how I look at these bottom-end elite teams in these conferences.
Dude, UCLA is in Los Angeles. The weather's better.
You ain't got to sell me on Los Angeles. You got to sell me on the ability to win at UCLA.
Yes,
you got to sell me on that.
I do believe So in meeting Bob Chesney, right? So I've had a chance to spend a little bit of time with him. We will be interviewing him soon, but had a chance to spend a little bit of time with him. He's very charismatic. He's very confident and believes in what he's doing. So
He
I
should.
believe that there will be a natural uptick for them. And from everything that I'm hearing, that the resources are that they are unlocking significantly more resources there. It's the most applied to university in the world, that people are now like, hey, yo, if you want to get in, hey man, you got to kick down some dollars. So
Yeah.
so it's just what it is, man. And so I believe that he's going to be able to have some success. But back to Arkansas though, I don't look at Arkansas as a place that you can win a national championship at, even though Indiana just showed me that it can be done anywhere at the most losingest program ever. But I also look at Arkansas and I'm like, but that Tyson food money, if that Tyson food money is kicking down,
That
it's a
Tyson food
possibility.
money has been there. That Tyson food money has been there. They put the logo on the field 2.5 years ago, I think. So it's been there. They also have an athletic director, George, that has been very open about the fact that baseball and basketball matter more there, because they actually, these are his words, I'm paraphrasing him. They actually have a chance to win in those sports. They actually have a chance to win in basketball and in baseball. And so they spend there. Look at their basketball and baseball rosters.
Yes.
They are at the top end of the SEC. They're not in football. So
And
maybe Silverfield changes all that.
Coach
Maybe
Cal
Indiana has changed all that.
Of that,
no doubt.
No doubt. Rev share money.
Yeah. But I think we spent way too much time on Arkansas.
Yes,
no offense,
I agree with
no
you.
Offense.
Nobody's ever spent this much time on Arkansas.
None.
All right, next up, the Alex Golesh-led Auburn Tigers. What is your biggest fear, or what is Auburn's biggest fear for this year?
Their wide choice team number 3. That would be my biggest fear. I'm not ranking them number 3. I'm saying they're the third to enter the conference. Like when Alex Golesh was at Tennessee in 2022, and they were the first one in this conference to really bring this here and do this.
Yeah.
Everybody was kind of like, whoa, we got to change everything about prep when we prepare for Tennessee. Well, that was 2022. This is 2026, and Tennessee has been around, and Tennessee has been successful, almost too successful to the point where they've remorphed their whole offense. If you watch Tennessee now, they're not really a wide choice team. They have wide choice principles, but they're not living outside the numbers for 85 snaps a game. In fact, they bunched far more than any football team labeled wide choice I've ever seen. Yeah. So they've had to adapt, because I think the league defensively has adapted. Mississippi State under Jeff Lebby is doing this, or attempting to do this. Hasn't been uber successful. If you remember Jackson Arnold's debacle year at Oklahoma, they were trying to wide choice out there. It didn't really work. Yeah. Now, that's the bad news. Like, the league is very, very aware of how to defend what they've got going on. Here's the good news. They have the cheat code for a wide choice system, which is an absolute athletic freak at the quarterback position. Yep. Wow. Everybody thinks wide choice is about throwing the ball down the field and throwing for 5,000 yards a year. And though it can lead to that, wide choice is about lightening the box to run the football.
Thank you.
And that is what it's all about. And that's what that dude is really, really good at. And it makes them good in the red zone. It kind of tilts the negatives about wide choice. Wide choice, when the field shrinks, historically, those teams are atrocious in the red zone because they can't balance the counts anymore. They can't use the field length as an advantage and the top end as an advantage. Therefore, the box gets crowded. Well, when my quarterback can run the football, we're back to even counts. We're back to balanced football. USF was top 5 in the country last year in red zone conversion rate because of this. Like, they have a freak at quarterback, 6'3", 230 pounds. And he ain't one of these like, oh, he runs in a straight line fast. No, we got GPS metrics nowadays. This dude's in full pads running 23 miles an hour at 235 pounds. Yeah. He's scary. He one of them ones.
Yeah, I don't believe that that Auburn, that they need to be afraid of anything this year. Auburn doesn't need to be afraid of anything. They're playing with house money. They're on their third coach in 3 years. So there's no reason why they need to be afraid. There's nowhere to go but up. I mean, I guess you could fall down lower in the SEC, but nobody's really talking about you. You got players transferring out. At least you have some hope now, and it feels like that the floor is that this is somebody who actually belongs at Auburn. That Alex Golesh feels like a guy that can be happy there. That's not going to be peeking around, seeing what other jobs come open. He feels like a guy who's thankful. He's kind of giving me some. And granted, we do have to see the results, but he's giving me some Dan Lanning vibes in that he'll be content where he's at. That when something else comes open, that he ain't really gonna be entertaining it, and that they're not gonna have a circus year in and year out.
You mentioned something that I vehemently disagree with. Alex Golesh is happy. That dude doesn't look like he's ever happy to me. He looks like he's a lunatic. He looks like he's crazy. And I do correlate that to Dan Lanning, by the way. Your head coach is content where he's at because he knows if he does not win, he blames that on himself and he works himself into a fury to find the answer. I think Alex Golesh is the same way. In fact, I know he is by his own words. His opening press conference, he mentioned something along the lines of, I'm one of those football coaches that thinks I can go find the answer if I work hard enough for it. If I stare at the problem long enough, I'll find the answer. I believe that about him. I believe that this profession requires lunatics. I think he checks that box for me. Now, whether or not he will ultimately be a successful story, I don't know that. But you are right in the sense that they're playing with house money that, here's what I'll say. They don't have a football coach that's going to be golfing on Sundays during season. They don't have a football coach that is going to be, I hate to use this term because I don't know him personally, but I think Hugh Freeze to be a fraudulent football coach. From what I think about what it means to be a leader of men and to accept responsibility for the things that you are responsible for, I do not label him a very in the leader of men category. So they got an upgrade in that standpoint.
Yeah, and that is going to help with your discipline. That's going to help with your recruiting, being able to sell parents.
Just the whole projection growth of the football program.
Yep, and turning out responsible humans. Now, I'm gonna let you go on your Georgia Bulldogs. What is the Georgia Bulldogs' biggest fear deep down inside that they don't want to say out loud?
We missed on high school recruiting evals. Here's the problem. This isn't Georgia. This is every football program like Ohio State, like Alabama, like Texas until this last offseason. If you are a high school recruiting program, if you build your entire projection of your football program off of high school athletes, you better have hit. Because when they get to the level that they are now, like CJ Wiley and Taylor Taylor, they are sophomores at the University of Georgia. They're very expensive because they're the highest tandem of wide receiver targets that they have signed since George Pickens and Dominic Blaylock. Well, when they signed George Pickens and Dominic Blaylock in 2019, it didn't cost what it costs now. These guys are getting paid like starters in the SEC. And if they're not as the caliber of production that Colby Young and Zachariah Branch were, then inevitably Georgia takes a step back at wide receiver, a step back that they can't afford. You see what I'm saying? So, Georgia couldn't go out and buy a fancy Zachariah Branch style weapon in the offseason this year because CJ Wiley is expensive. Taylor is expensive. Well, CJ Wiley and Taylor better be good. They better be really, really good this year when they play. Now, I'm not saying they won't be. I'm not saying they, but that's what I'm getting back to. The evals better be right. The evals better be right. Same thing up at Ohio State. When we lose Sonny Styles, when we lose Arvell Reese, well, it's, a rich man's game. They're just replacing them with five-star blue chip prospects. But those guys haven't played. They have to be really, really good to match the level of production. Whereas some of these programs like Indiana, when they lose a Fernando Mendoza, they just go buy a Josh Hoover. We know Josh Hoover's good. We've seen him play in college football.
Yeah, but what I mean? Way more picks than for Fernando Mendoza did, though.
He wasn't RPO in a quarter of his damn snaps either. He was actually asked to play the position. So
that's true.
So Josh Hoover's going to have a breeze at Indiana, by the way. He's going to get asked to do things that, like, he's like, I feel like I'm in a high school system again when I just left the Bryles system that's
a lot of decisions.
All kinds of, it's a lot of fulfilled reads. Like, he's actually playing the position from the pocket, whereas, like, I got to throw an RPO back shoulder fade. Okay. I'll rip this, man. I'm
easy
good.
work.
Okay. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, and that's Georgia across the board. That's Georgia. Like, Georgia's got to get better at corner. Ellis Robinson and DeMello Jones have to take a step. KJ Bolden has to be what he's ultimately supposed to be. Elijah Griffin's got to go from a really good freshman to an impact football player as a sophomore. Like, the same thing. Juan Gaston's got to go from he was really good as a freshman to, oh my God, he might be the best tackle in the SEC, because that's what Monroe Freeling was. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of projection. It's a lot of guys got to get better. And that's okay, because they're really talented football players. Again, it's first world problems. It's not like they're having to develop 3 stars. It's like, hey, can the 5-star be a 5-star? That's what they got to answer.
Yeah. I think Georgia's biggest fear is on offense with Mike Bobo. That last year they depended on Zachariah Branch so much. Like, it was almost like watching Miami with Malachi Toney, that everything ran through him. It was screen, anything was there. And then when you look at, he had double the catches of the next guy. So I think that the system being able to allow your quarterback Gunnar Stockton to actually play the position even more and keep himself out of harm's way, not quite run as much and pitch it around more. I think that that's their biggest fear, is that they're not going to be able to do that, because I think that that's going to be the difference between them being a very good football team and being an actual elite team that can compete for a championship.
Yeah, they have to get some growth from the quarterback position, no doubt. He has to become – he's a playmaker right now. He's got to become much better of a passer. All of his best plays are like, damn, dude. Like, you're extending plays. You almost died, but you got the ball off. Way to make a play. Well, I need to see some wow throws from the pocket. I think that will help the offense grow tremendously.
All right, Florida Gators. I believe, Brooks, the Florida Gators' biggest fear is that we didn't hire the right coach. That, like, I thought John Summerall was the perfect coach to go to LSU. I thought that just made so much sense. He's in Tulane. He understands the people. He understands the boot itself. I know he doesn't have the Lane Kiffin name, but this is a good football coach, a successful football coach. And sometimes geography matters. I believe he will be successful on some level, but it also, I believe that their fear is that they didn't get it right.
I think there's a weird, because I have grown up covering Georgia. When I say grow up, like, my professional career has grown up through covering Georgia. So I'm very intimate and aware of the Florida fan base. I think something happened in the Florida fan base like 10 years ago where it became cool to be a pessimist, where it became cool to just, like, crap on everything that they do. So I think there is a large portion of that fan base that thinks they just hired Billy Napier 2.0. It's like, oh, this is a mid-major guy that's going to come over here and run it like that. And I think they're fearful of that. That's the natural inclination. At least when they hired him, that's what it was. I think he's a guy. I think he's a great football coach. He's very relatable. He's very personable. And he's a hard ass. I think that's having followed Kirby so closely over my career, that's his unique trait. His unique trait is he has this ability to be on go all the time, feel like a dictator, but everybody around him relate to him somehow. It's like a magic trick, honestly. I think Summerall might have some of that. I think he might have this high energy, high demands for his players, yet oddly relatable. I think that's the key. So I'm bullish on, but far more bullish on the offensive coordinator hires that he hired. Right, Buster Faulkner's a great football coach. Brad White, people don't know about Brad White. Brad White is a great football coach. The defensive coordinator that they hired from Kentucky, that guy has had top 15 defenses 3 times in the last 7 years at Kentucky. That's impressive. So I think he did a good job from a coordinating standpoint. And, like, dude, I like everything he says. His lip service for me is tremendous. Like, prime example, he was asked about hiring his buddies and, like, bringing. He's like, I don't hire buddies. I don't hire friends. That's not what I do. I hire colleagues. You come here, we're coming to work. You might be a friend of mine, but you not be right for this job. I love everything about it. But we're gonna find out if it works, though.
Yeah, and I loved what he did, keeping his promise to Tulane to donate money to their
I'm
collective.
saying, bro, there's nothing he's missed. He's hit all of them.
Yeah, that definitely. Yeah, that speaks to integrity, and integrity usually has good results. Now the Kentucky Wildcats, Brooks. What is their biggest fear of this season?
I don't think there is one. You talking about house money? This is house money. Like this is a football coach at Will Stein, who first year head football coach. I think maybe there's a little bit of a redemption arc for a coach like Joe Sloan, who got shit on way too hard at LSU, in my opinion. Like he took way too much of a brunt of a blow for a quarterback who couldn't throw the football and a head football coach who was busy golfing and riding jet skis. Like, get the hell out of here for that. So I guess the fear is that Kenny Minchie was a really expensive football player who can't play, maybe. Like, didn't they pay a lot of money for him, like randomly out of nowhere? So
yeah, because he was supposed to go to Missouri. What, was he supposed to go to Missouri first?
Yeah, he was. I think he was committed. So, anyways, but like, you got another Zach Calzada situation, maybe, where your backup quarterback sucks and his money spreading on timelines. Like, maybe that's the biggest fear. But other than that, I think you're playing with house money.
I think Will Stein does a good job identifying. Well, okay. Does a good job of coaching quarterbacks because they did not necessarily recruit at the highest level at quarterback, even though they did recruit Dante Moore and got him to commit, but then he went to UCLA and then he came back. So he did a good job coaching Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, and Dante Moore, but the kids he recruited out of high school, it didn't really work out very well. So maybe he's a transfer portal identifier guy and maybe not the high school identifier guy. But
did he have time? I'm sorry to cut you off, George. Did he have time to like really establish high school recruiting relationships while he was at Oregon? Wasn't he only there for like 18, 24 months?
No. Well, yeah. So he was the offensive coordinator for Bo Nix's last year. Dylan Gabriel, and then this year. So yeah, so he was there for 3 years. The biggest thing that I would be afraid of if I were Kentucky is a little bit of recruiting, right? Because if you notice, when Tosh Lupoy left Oregon, 4 or 5 guys left Oregon and went to Cal. Nobody left Oregon and went to Kentucky. And that was because Will Stein is not the level of dogged recruiter the same way that Lanning and Tosh Lupoy are. And I believe that No, go on.
No, I was going to say I've found that to be like really, really repetitive with regards to offensive minds and defensive minds. All of our great recruiters are defensive coaches. I know we're really sidetracking the conversation, but it's high energy. I need you to know that I care for you to run through a brick wall for me. A lot more people running through brick walls on the defensive side of football than the offensive side of football. Offense is about making sure we're schematically tight, we're in the right area. Offensive-minded football coaches spend far more time in the film room than defensive coaches. They're far more introverts, right? There are no Gus Malzahn defensive coordinators. They don't exist. They're all high-energy freaks, fair. Like lunatics. So I think that's the thing I've stumbled upon, like just in my football life. Is like every high-energy guy, if I flipped a coin, it's going to land on defensive side of that coin more times than not.
Yeah, but the only position where you're super high energy usually is O-line coach. Like they're usually pretty fiery, but you are right.
Or
outside of wide receiver coaches and sometimes running back coaches, like those are usually the two best recruiting guys on offense. Yeah, and whereas on defense, you might have all of them as really good recruiters. That's a fair point. Now let's get on to the money bags out there. The $40 million roster, LSU Tigers. Brooks, what are they afraid of this season? Like deep down in that Bayou heart, they are projecting strength. They are defending every single thing that this man does. They're like, listen, of course he left Ole Miss. He would never leave us. He actually loves us. Even though he left Tennessee, left USC. Well, he got fired from USC, but like he ain't exactly he here for a good time, not a long time, no matter where he's at, despite whatever the situation is.
My biggest fear would be the number 57, which is the number of new football players they have on that roster. Now, this is what he does. He churns these things out every year. I mean, it's what he did at Ole Miss. I thought the whole reason to go to LSU is because we weren't going to have to do this. Year one, you have to do this, right? Just get all the new transfers, churn the roster out, guys that you think aren't good enough to play for you. Get them out of here, bring some new guys in. Hell, still an edge rusher from Tennessee if we can. Let's go get an offensive tackle from Colorado. Let's use this $40.5 million and let's go get after it. So they did all of that. I think the newness of it would scare me. But here's a thing that I want to ask you, George, because I brought it up on our show, and you're a good historian of the sport, so you can give me this. Has Lane Kiffin ever had expectations? Has Lane Kiffin, apart from the 18 months he spent at USC or however long he was there, has he ever had, you better win a national title while you're here, expectations? No. Or has it always been, hey, if you win 10 games, buddy, we're going to build a statue of you out of this place until you leave and we have to burn couches because you did it unprofessionally?
Yep. Outside of USC, the answer is no. That's it.
That was a long time ago, and we kind of crumbled under those expectations, to be honest with you.
Facts. So
that would scare me.
Yes, I believe that the biggest fear for LSU should be that you hired a very good football coach, because he's going to produce wins. Like he's got a system. He's been a head coach for a long time. He's smart. He understands things. My biggest concern would be is that he's a good football coach, that he's not an elite football coach in terms of the leadership component. He reminds me of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, supremely talented, got all the talented in the whole world. One of the most accurate passers of the ball that we've ever seen. He can make every single throw on the football field. The reason why Aaron Rodgers only has one Super Bowl is because Aaron Rodgers is not a good leader. And
he must be totally different than what we think him to be. And I only say that because if he were what we think him to be, if he were the persona and the person on a day-to-day basis that he projects himself to be publicly, there's no way in Sam hell Charlie Weiss Jr. would sign up for that to be second fiddle again. Do you know what I mean? Unless like on a personal, like man-to-man basis, he must just be a totally different human being. He must be far more likable, like when you actually are with him. Because otherwise, dude, why is Charlie Weiss not an NFL offensive coordinator right now? Why is Charlie Weiss not a hot candidate to be a head football coach? Because he just followed Lane again to LSU. That's crazy to me. That whole offensive stem did. The whole offensive coaching staff was like, okay, all right, let's go. Like that to me says that he must be different.
They are bad decision makers, and they don't know how to.
A whole lot of them. Some good football coaches in that bunch, man.
See, I think some of them were like, they might not have been in with Golding, and they thought that this was their best option, because they're like, okay, we'll go to LSU. Maybe I can get out of there in a year or two if we do have success. I think it's tricky with coaches especially when you're dangling so much money out in front of them. 2-year deal, 3-year deal. How much money does the head coach rock with you, or does he not rock with you? You're not sure about Golding, if he's going to keep you around past the one year, because we wasn't really that cool. So I think that some of that factors into it too. And especially when they didn't know whether Golding was going to get the head job or not, because he was interim. So I think some of them made choices because that was the best option at the time when it was presented.
No, that makes sense.
All right. Now, speaking of the Pete Goldings, you got Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
What do you believe, Brooks, that their biggest fear is this year?
The fraction 5 of 6. 5 of their top 6 receiving targets from a year ago are no longer on this roster. That would scare me. Obviously, everybody's going to talk about the coaching losses, right? Charlie Weiss Jr. gone. But, I don't know about you guys, but I think Joe Judge to be a really, really good football coach.
Yeah.
I know, hot take. And he got named the, head coach of the offense. I think it's the first title I've heard of that. And then Will Muschamp got named head coach of the defense out there in Texas. But they're going to let him run that offense. I would imagine the offense is going to look really, really good. I also believe that Kejuan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss are probably the two best individual talents in this conference. I think they're good enough to be a 10-win team by themselves. I think that highly of those two football players. So my biggest fear would be weaponry replacement.
Yeah, my biggest fear for them is that expectations have gotten out of whack. Is that last year's season that, yes, you made it to the semifinals, but styles make fights. And I fear the same thing for Miami. Miami's like, see, look, we were the second best team in the country. Sort of, right? Because you
but they got
ended up-
better.
Yeah.
They got better.
You think that Miami's going to be better?
Offensively.
Yes,
I mean, we're going to have to
replace
a lot of offensive line play, but like I think Miami's roster is in a really, really good spot. I don't think I can say that about Ole Miss's right now.
That's the other thing. I'm just saying that as far as Miami goes, and when Ole Miss, that yes, that last year was really good, but I just believe that they believe that they were a different caliber of team as opposed to we played good at the right time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I think that there's some factors there. All right. Now I want to go over to Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Sooners. I believe their biggest fear, Brooks, for this year is that John Mateer, same offensive coordinator, that he didn't get better, that he's still going to be, pushing balls up, sailing them, and inaccurate at times, and that this offense is still going to be just a rock fight and a struggle bus, which is not going to get them anywhere where they want to be.
So we're moving into year 4 with John Mateer in this system. I think we spent 2 years under this system with Ben Arbuckle at Washington State, spent a third at Oklahoma. We're going into year 4. I don't expect exponential growth from the quarterback. I just don't expect to see it. Also, we're way, way too mechanically inconsistent to ever expect consistent growth from that football player from my standpoint. I'm looking at my phone because I'm looking at these transfer portal additions, and I just want to clear this up and make sure I'm 100% right here before I can give this take. All right, I'm going to give this take. For the second straight year, I didn't feel like they got good enough. Like they didn't do anything to get better at problem areas. They're taking bodies at wide receiver, but they didn't take a difference maker at wide receiver. It took a bunch of bodies.
They need a difference maker.
Dude, they needed a dude. Like they needed Cam Coleman is what they needed. They needed to go spend money to go get a guy. And I don't think they have one if I look at their roster right now. Like Georgia, we were talking about them earlier, their whole offensive line bet is that Michael Fasusi and Eddie Pierre-Louis turn into what they think they're supposed to be. Those were two freshmen playing freshman football last year, and they look like freshmen. They look like talented freshmen. Yeah. But that's what they're banking on right there. Like, hey, what did we do at running back? Did we get better there? I know you had a talented freshman, but we swung and missed on Jay Knott last offseason. So there are certain things that I look at him and I'm like, ooh. Now, that being said, like, David Stone might be one of the best defensive tackles in college football next year. They're going to be great defensively. All they need is an offensive pulse. All they need is an offensive pulse. If they can just find a consistent heartbeat offensively, they'll be a tough team to beat.
Agreed. Mississippi State. Let's head down to Starkville.
Be quick. Be quick. I don't mean to be disrespectful to the Bulldogs, but let's be quick. The biggest fear is that Kamario Taylor is not what we think he is.
Yeah, I just don't.
Spent a lot of money on that one.
Yeah, I just believe that this is going to be, like the wide offense. It's a gimmick, and hopefully it works some. They've improved, but I don't believe that there's anything to be afraid of for them. There's that you are who you are right now. Anything above 6 wins is a win for you.
I mean, they went from a football team that lost every single conference football game in 2024 by an average of 17 points to taking Texas to overtime last year. So there's some uptick. Yeah. I think we took Tennessee to overtime too. So there's some uptick there, some positivity, but we'll see what it looks like. Again, this is the most talented football player they've had at quarterback ever. I know people are going to be like, oh, they had Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was not a 5-star football player like Kamario Taylor.
Yep.
This kid is supposed to be something. So we'll see.
Yep. All right. Missouri. Eli
Yeah.
Drinkwitz's Missouri Tigers. What is their biggest fear, Brooks?
Man, I'm so down on Mizzou.
Me too.
I'm so down on Mizzou. That would be my fear. I don't know. If I were a Missouri Tiger fan, I'd look at that roster and be like, holy hell, we're not near as good as we were the last 2 or 3 years. Apart from Ahmad Hardy, do they have a preseason All SEC football player?
Probably not. I just
on the 3 teams they won't. So like, it's bare out there.
I don't believe in Eli Drinkwitz. Like, he just doesn't jump off the screen. And I know that you can judge a book by its cover, and that's not fair, but he just doesn't jump off the screen. To me, when in interviews, I don't feel inspired. I don't feel anything. I just, okay. Like, I feel like this is going to be a 8-4 football team, and
you're a little more positive. I'm like, can we scrap the 7-5? Like, I'm telling you, man. Like, dude, the Austin Simmons thing,
I
don't think that's going to work. Like, the Matt Zollers looked okay last year, but he's got no help. Another thing. Name me a wide receiver at Missouri right now, other than
got in at Ole Miss last year.
No, he was a turnover prone, and the motion is real dippy. It is real long. So there's a lot there that I'm not really bullish on. Again, it's not great up there right now, I don't think.
South Carolina. Brooke, South Carolina's biggest fear is that Shane Beamer and Lenora Sellers are way more hype than actual substance. Because there were people like, look, Lenora Sellers should come out in the draft. And I was like, for what? For what? This is Anthony Richardson 2.0. And until he can, he holds the ball way too long. He doesn't believe in what he's seeing. Yes, they needed a whole new offensive coordinator. So for me, he needs to take a massive jump, or he better hop in the transfer portal and get to a different school, because I do not believe in what is going on there. Shane Beamer is too nervous on the sideline. He's always pacing, and I'm like, bro, you look like something is you're scaring me.
Yeah,
and so, I just don't buy it. I do not buy it.
I think for the 19th straight year, their fear is offensive line play, despite the fact that I could go for a joke here. Let's restart. South Carolina fans' biggest fear is 3-on-3 basketball. You don't get that joke. Jacarius Peak, their multi-million-dollar offensive tackle, is not going to be available for spring because he sprained his knee playing 3-on-3 basketball at a team event. That's real. That's real talk. That actually happened. Their other tackle, Josiah Thompson, will not be available until fall camp. I don't know why. He's not available. It's a knee thing too. So they're high-end blue-chip tackles that they're betting on their whole entire protection of Lenora Sellers on. They ain't practicing until August. So there's that. But no, this is his 4th coordinator. You talk about Lenoris, like, he's uber talented. This is a 4th coordinator. We've gone through a bunch of them. And last year, here's a little, not to take a shot at Mike Shula, but here's a little something for you, head football coaches out there. Probably shouldn't hire an offensive coordinator who hasn't called plays since 2016. Probably shouldn't hire an offensive coordinator who's never called plays in college football. Probably shouldn't hire an offensive coordinator whose best claim to fame is, I did that one thing with Cam Newton that one time. Son, that was 2013. That was 2013. So we have Kendall Briles in the mix now. He'll make it a whole lot more simple, yes, I would imagine, Kendall did some really, really complex things with Josh Hoover the last couple of years at TCU because Josh Hoover could handle that. Kendall wasn't doing that with KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. KJ Jefferson and Arkansas offense will look a lot like South Carolina offense this year, I would imagine.
All right. Next team, the Tennessee Volunteers. Brooks, I believe the Tennessee Volunteers should have no fears for this year because I believe that they
Yeah.
are who they are with their head coach Josh Heupel. What he requested, he wants a 24-team playoff because he is a 24-team playoff type of guy. That's where this program is. This is not a top 10 type of program anymore that they may be able to slide into the college football playoff in one of those last spots every now and then, but he wants 24 teams because he understands where he's at right now. So there's no reason to be afraid, Tennessee, because he knows who you are, you know who you are, and you just got to be able to peak every now and then.
So you mentioned that time period where Tennessee was a top 10 football program. People, and I think volunteer fans even forget this. That was when Alabama and Georgia sucked. It's really, really good to be a top 10 football program in the SEC when Alabama and Georgia suck. They don't anymore. They never will ever again. They will never be really, really bad ever again. So Tennessee was great in those time periods because they could come into Alabama and they could take football players. They could come into Georgia, they could take the top end football players. They can't do that anymore. But I'm a Josh Heupel guy. I'm a believer in what he does. I'm a believer in his football acumen. I'm a believer in the adjustments that he makes. Here's my main concern. Here's what I'm terrified about. There have been a lot more tight football games, and this dude is terrible in 2 minutes. This dude is terrible in timeout management. This dude is terrible in clock management. This dude is terrible in game management. And that stuff scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, but you believe in him. You are a Josh Heupel guy.
I am. Hey, we all have our faults. I
mean, that's Mario Cristobal too. And
if I have to buy a wide choice football coach, I'm buying Heupel. I ain't buying the rest of you guys yet. Yeah. I'm gonna buy him. But no, I mean all those things are a byproduct of his system too. Like you're terrible in 2 minutes because you just I don't know why. I can't get you're terrible in the red zone because you can't run the ball in the red zone because you're a wide choice offense. So like some of his stuff makes sense. But no, I'm worried about whether or not George McIntyre is a turnover frenzy and whether or not Faison Brandon's elite. I think Faison Brandon is going to be really, really good.
Just not as a true freshman.
No, and there's not many of those that are, but I think they had a fortuitous loss in the court systems, to be honest with you. I think the worst thing that could have happened for them is to be an 8-4 Joey Aguilar-led football team this year, and we go another year without knowing whether or not George McIntyre is what we thought he was coming out of high school. Like not to get too deep on Tennessee, and we go way too long on these things, by the way. That's me and you. That's us. Yeah. That's what it's going to be. It's what it's going to be. They identify quarterbacks way earlier than everybody else on the high school trail. They had George McIntyre committed going into his junior summer. They had Faison Brandon committed going into his junior summer. Why aren't y'all playing those guys? Why aren't y'all rushing to play those guys? You committed to them early. Let's find out if they're good. That'd be I'm a hopeful, if I'm a Tennessee fan, that George McIntyre is a guy. And we're going to find out. If we're 7-5 this year, I don't give a shit if he's good. Because I know next year we have a window.
That's fair. All right, Texas A&M. Brooks, what are the Aggies' biggest fear going into this 2026 season?
In-house promotion. It never works. It normally doesn't. When we lose a good offensive coordinator, and say what you want about Colin Klein, he's a good offensive coordinator. When we lose him to a head coaching job and we promote in-house, it normally doesn't work out tremendously. Now, Oregon's going through this. They just promoted in-house. I think offense and defensive coordinator. Normally we have to go out.
Hampton.
Yeah, normally we have to go out and hire somebody. That's my history of this conference in particular. Like, for example, Georgia lost I think Jim Chaney after the 2017 year, and they're like, or 2018 year, and they're like, well, we got James Coley in-house. We'll just promote him. And it didn't work out too good. Promotional, like last year, I know I defended Joe Sloan, but letting Denbrock walk out of LSU to go to Notre Dame and then just promoting Joe Sloan didn't work out at LSU. So promoting the wide receivers coach to offensive coordinator always scares me. That would be my biggest fear, that we're not good enough offensively because we lost a ton defensively. They're going to have to score more points at A&M this year. They're not going to be as good defensively. And they had weird outlier performances defensively last year where it's like, why are you giving up 41 points on the road to Notre Dame? What is going on? What are we doing?
Exactly. I believe that Texas A&M's biggest fear this year, it's clear, is that last year's schedule and having
Yeah.
to only play one team in the SEC that finished in the top 8, that this has distorted the view. That you thought that there were people on the, oh my God, let's look at all the metrics. And you got the TV announcers. The metrics say that Texas A&M is the best team. I was like, what metrics are you talking about? You got the number 1 defense in Columbus. You got the number 1 offense somewhere else. And you're telling me that Texas A&M is the best team? I'm looking at the schedule. I'm like, where are the ranked team? Where are the good teams that you beat outside of Notre Dame?
I feel really bad for the sorry sack that draws a short stick in them ESPN meeting rooms, pre-show planning rooms. They're like, hey, Booger, you got to argue for A&M today. And he's like, damn it. All right, lose an argument. Let's go try to throw something at the wall, hope it sticks. That's how that happens, by the way. That's how that happens. We got some pre-show planning meeting where everybody's like, hey, who's the number 1 team? And I was like, Ohio State. And they're like, okay, well, that's boring-ass television. You have to pick this team, and that's how that goes. So,
like, all right, somebody give me somebody else besides these 3 teams.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can take Texas
Somebody
A&M.
go viral.
I can make a case. Lies. The Texas Longhorns. Brooks, I look at this team, and I believe that their biggest fear this year in Texas, deep down in their soul, that they're like, what if Arch is just okay? What if he's just a good quarterback? Because last year, Paul Feinbaum and everybody else, except this guy right here, was, oh my, Arch Manning's the best. He's gonna win the Heisman. He should come out, he'd be the best number 1 pick of all time. And I was like, are we sure about that? Because like he started 3 games and 2 of them were okay and one of them was not good. And they were like, no, but believe it. And now this year, same thing. Arch Manning, believe it. And I'm like, what if he's just really good or just pretty good? And Sark is just a very good coach, and maybe he needs to give up offensive play calling because we've never had a play caller win a national championship.
All relatively valid, except I will say this. I was called some crackpot conspiracy theorist last year for pointing out that Arch Manning might be hurt. Come to find out, he played the entire year with some type of ligament issue in his foot. He had offseason foot surgery. Apparently got hurt in 2024 against Texas A&M, their last regular season game. For some reason, thought it was going to be fine. Went through the offseason last year. This is all reported by Cooper Manning, by the way. Went through the offseason, thought it was going to be okay, went through rehab process. It never got any better. He dealt with it all year last year. And based off what I looked at, it had to be his right foot. I mean, every single time he's driving, he's collapsing onto his left side and just absolutely, his mechanics were dog crap last year. I think that's a lot why the performance was up and down. I love his competitive integrity. I think he's tough as nails. I compared it this way. It would be like watching the nepotistic hire at a construction company be the hardest grunt worker. That's what it's like watching him play football because, I mean, they were killing him last year. They were absolutely unable to protect him at all. My biggest concern looking at Texas's roster is general depth. They have great top-end talent.
Yes.
And then you look at those starters and you're like, my God. But if they have 2 or 3 injuries, you look at their 2 and 3 depths, those are a bunch of talented high school football players who've never played ball, never played big-time college football. So there is a big gap and drop-off between – I'm not talking about talent. I'm talking about just general experience and being ready to play. That would be my main concern because they spend a lot of money on bringing guys in, and they're great. They're great football players at that top end of that roster. But we need 2s and 3s to go play 17 games.
Yes, you do. The final SEC team, the Vanderbilt Commodores. No. Brooks, I look at this team, and to me, deep down in Vanderbilt's soul, their fear has to be that last year was as good as it gets. That I believe that Clark Lee's a good football coach, that he inspires confidence in everybody. He wants to be there. He wants to prove he can win at Vanderbilt. They're going to probably be starting a true freshman at quarterback in Jared Curtis, who flipped from Georgia. But I believe that deep down that they're scared that last year was that was the pinnacle.
So you said probably, and it reminded me of that scene in The Waterboy where they ask his girlfriend what the score prediction is going to be, and he goes, "Man, that's a pretty good guess." And she looks at him and goes, "That ain't no guess. That's what it's going to be." Ain't no probably with Jared Curtis. It's what it's going to be. They paid the man $3 million. It's what it's going to be. Okay. I'm assuming $3 million.
North of 2.5. Somewhere around it, yeah.
North of 2.5. And I guaranteed that. I bet they guaranteed that dude first year playing time, because that was the whole flip up. They made that man out to be like he was going to be the apostle of Nashville football. So the whole regime is based off Curtis. I think he's that talented. I think he's that good. I think the difference is like the offensive scheme that they ran at Vanderbilt with Pavia was able to tilt the talent disadvantage, right? The option offense, the ability to flip guards, the run game dominance, the ability to live in 3rd and 2s. Jared Curtis ain't about to take 14 carries in an option offense. Like, what are we talking about? That's not what that's going to look like. So he's going to need more parts around him, I think, than they needed last year, despite the fact that he's far more talented than Diego Pavia. His style of play requires actual talents around him. You got to be able to protect a quarterback who could throw from the pocket. You got to be able to have weapons for quarterbacks who need to throw the football. You see what I'm saying? Like that would be my main concern there is our style of play does not lead for, oh, we've got good talent. We don't have great talent. No, we need some great players with a great quarterback too.
100%. And you guys, that is the SEC. Everybody's biggest fears. Go down in the comments. Tell us what you think, and who does have the biggest fear, the worst fear. Brooks, thanks for coming on, man.
No doubt, George.
Oh, it is Ralph Amsden time, and we got something fun for y'all today. It is QB tier time in college football. So we got to rank the players in all of the tiers of college football. We are going to rank the best quarterbacks and tell you where they fit. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys, download Underdog Fantasy app today and use the promo code Unafraid, and you can score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5, and that's promo code Unafraid. And also pick your lineups. See if you can hit the highers and the lowers. See how many you can put together in a row for bonus action as well, because that's fun, right? All right. Now let's get to these QB tiers, Ralph. Now we decided that we were going to put the tiers into different levels. And the first tier that we have is the Heisman / the elite tier. Like, these are the guys that we believe that can not only win the Heisman Trophy, but are also national championship caliber quarterbacks. Then we got the next tier, which is the championship tier, the championship caliber tier. Now, this is part player and part roster / situation. So that's what that tier is. Then there is the NFL draft darling. These are the guys that we believe are obviously good college quarterbacks, but when it comes draft time, that yes, they may not be able to compete for a championship, but oh my God, the NFL scouts and everybody, they will be fawning over these guys, or they will just be good NFL quarterbacks. The next tier that we have is the future face of college football. These are the guys who are not draft eligible or won't be going out in the draft next year, but we believe that these will be the guys that we will be talking about in these tiers for next season. And then we have the unfortunate portal bound tier. These are the guys who, for whatever reason, it's not working out right now, and they may end up in the transfer portal in the future, or hey, it could be positive. They could end up in the transfer portal as a big step up.
It could be fortunate with a capital fortune.
Yes, exactly. And then there's another category where hype. Oh, there's so much hype surrounding these guys, and they're great college quarterbacks, but can't win a national championship, and they're probably not going to be NFL draft darlings anyway, but we love them, and they are going to be legends where they are. And then we have the Tyra Banks, Brian Brom category. Ralph, you tell the people what that category is about.
So on the Tyra Banks end, is people we're all rooting for, but there's a possibility they're going to let us down.
We
and
were
on the
rooting
Brian
for you.
And 30 years later, we might get a documentary about it, finding out that maybe we shouldn't have been so pro Tyra. Maybe we were the problem.
Yo, that America's Next Top Model documentary on Netflix, you be sitting there like, ooh. I felt like Miss J, and they're like, ooh.
Did you do the Miss J?
Yes.
Kids don't even know where that meme came from. That's so funny. Yeah, we're a cultured podcast, everybody.
Yeah.
The other side is the Brian Brom side. And if you remember, Brian Brom, brother of Jeff Brom, currently on the staff at Louisville, he was projected to be a top 10 pick in, I believe, the 2007 NFL draft. And he said, you know what? I'm going back to school. And that ended with him being the 56th overall pick in the next NFL draft and never having the capital to be invested in as anyone's franchise quarterback. He went from a surefire top 10 pick to never making an impact in the NFL at all. And so basically what we're saying is you should have gotten out when the getting was good. Like this would be a quarterback that maybe would have been better served to chase draft dreams instead of running it back, which there's a lot of money now. And you actually advise people, George, if you can get more money in college, stay in college because there are no guarantees. But for some people, if you could have got that first round money, maybe you should have chased the first round money.
Anthony Richardson, perfect guy. Get out before they figure out that you can't play, buddy. So we have a list of quarterbacks. Oh, and then the last category is the track stars. These are the guys who are much more runners than they are passers. And in going through this list, later on, we're going to release our rankings of quarterbacks, like numbered from 1 to 30, basically 32. And Ralph figured something out. He was like, George, I think you like that guys who are passers better than runners. And I was like, that's what the position does, right? That's what you're supposed to do at quarterback. Throw the football. So, yes, I like my quarterbacks to throw the football. So how this is going to work, Ralph is going to throw me out quarterbacks. Ralph, you don't have to go in order. You can okay. Throw them where you will. And then I will tell you the tier that they belong in.
All right, well, let's start close to home. Let's go with Nico Iamaleava, because I don't want to stumble over that name later. Let's go with UCLA's quarterback, former Tennessee quarterback, former 5-star recruit, one of the first college football millionaires. What tier do you believe Nico belongs in?
Oh, Nico Iamaleava belongs in the NFL draft darling tier. And people have forgotten that this kid was actually a highly sought after recruit. People aren't mentioning, they're not talking about him as one of the top. It was like he ran out of eligibility. And they forget that at times he looked really good last year. Now he's got a better situation at UCLA. The head coaches changed, their stability there. So I'm excited about Nico, and I believe by this time next year, he will be an NFL draft darling.
I can't wait to see him jump at the combine. I do want to see the volleyball skills in action.
Oh yeah. Because he can jump out the gym and he's 6'6".
Let's stay in LA. Let's go with another Polynesian, another big boy, Jaden Mayava at USC.
So I stumbled over this kid for a while because the stats are there, the numbers are there. Sometimes I feel like throws are predetermined, but I believe that he's going to put up good stats again. If he takes any bit of another leap, he'll be another in the line of Lincoln Riley quarterbacks that goes to the NFL. May not be a first rounder, but I believe that he will be one of those NFL draft picks and NFL draft darlings.
I feel like Lincoln Riley is one of those guys who, you got the parents who drop their kids off in kindergarten, and then like the kid hugs their leg and then they don't leave, and then they end up taking them home on that day, you know? I feel like Lincoln Riley's one of those parents that kicks the kid out the car while it's still moving, and they roll into daycare.
Don't
and there
even
is,
say bye.
yeah, there is no opportunity to hug the leg. Like, you just got to figure it out. And maybe it takes you a minute, and maybe it takes you a few years. But if you look at all these guys that played for Lincoln Riley, at some point they do end up being impact guys in the NFL. They just don't always go in knowing what they're doing. They don't go in ready.
Exactly. It'll work at some point in time. It just may not work early. So be patient, people.
All right, let's go to some of our big money names. Let's talk about somebody that we were really excited about, George, before the season, and it felt like maybe we were the only people that were excited about him. And now that everybody's excited about him, maybe we've got some buyer's remorse. Brendan Sorsby, former Cincinnati quarterback, who is now making $6 million minus whatever the courts take away at Texas Tech.
Wow, I guess we are staying in that NFL draft darling category, because I do not believe that Texas Tech is going to be an national championship caliber team this year. I do believe that Brendan Sorsby is a significant upgrade at quarterback, but they're losing a lot with Lee Hunter and David Bailey and the other D linemen as well. Is going to be hard to replace that. Going to be hard to replace the linebackers as well. I believe that Texas Tech will be good, but I don't believe that they're going to run through everybody like they did last year. And so, therefore, he can't be in the championship caliber territory, even though he may be a championship caliber quarterback.
Okay. So let's talk about somebody who you actually got a lot of backlash talking about this year. And I've struggled to find the reason for the backlash. But let's go with Ohio State's Julian Sayin, who, again, I think you've only ever said positive things about. You just didn't vote for him for the Heisman.
Okay. He's in the championship caliber bracket. That's where he is. That's the tier that he belongs in, championship caliber, because of his roster. And I will say it again. Julian Sayin, he's not going to wow you with his arm. He's not going to wow you with his athleticism, but he wows you with his decision-making and his accuracy. He plays the position the way it's supposed to be, and he's going to be an NFL player. I mean, I don't know where that amongst Ohio State fans has turned into hate, but he's a championship caliber quarterback with this roster.
I'm sure they'll find a way to be upset at what you just said. Let's talk about somebody who tore it up in a conference that used to be near and dear to our heart and has since transferred to the SEC. Had an up and down first year, but led a team to the college football playoff. Mr. John Mateer.
Tyra Banks category. We were all rooting for you. Him and Arbuckle together have not amounted to what you would have thought. His stroke is, it ain't as his throwing motion, for all you for all you people out there, it's not as clean as you would like, which leads to inaccuracy issues. I don't think that there's going to be some magical jump this year. We all were rooting for you. Oh, but he's going to be the difference between Oklahoma making the playoff and not. But this is not a championship caliber team with the wideouts and everything. So, yeah, no.
Can we at least admit that, like, he had the worst wide receiver room of any good team last year?
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But he did make do with Washington State, so, excuses.
Yep.
I'm rooting for him, though. I'm still rooting for you. Let's go with my guy, the man who actually took down my former high school in the Arizona Open Division High School Championship back in the day, made his name at the University of New Mexico, has 33 career rushing touchdowns, and is going into his senior season at University of Utah, Mr. Devin Dampier.
He's a runner. He's a track star. Dude, he's a solid system college quarterback. Doesn't throw the ball at a very high level. But he's a playmaker. So this is why I put him in the track star category. He can hurt you, but when it comes down to it, this is not the old days. You can't win a national championship like that, and he'll get Utah a lot of wins, but it won't be enough.
Okay, I'm ignoring all of the Arizona high school football quarterback slander, but that is a running back. Like, that is an NFL running. I'm not trying to say like if he was just a running back, that's an NFL draft pick.
Correct.
He has thrown 42 touchdowns.
Yeah, he will be like he's Diego Pavia, but a better athlete. Except not quite as good of a passer, but neither one of them's that great at it.
Let's go with Maryland's own Malik Washington.
Ooh, future face of college football. This I believe the future is bright. May not be at Maryland, but it's bright though.
So you wouldn't put him in that portal category?
Yes, I would, but I think he's a future face, and that feels a little more positive.
They got money now, too. Maryland got a little money now.
Yeah, they got to win.
They might be able to hang on to him. Yeah, that's true. He got a good OC headed his way from Jacksonville State as well. So we'll see how he does. How about the man whose fate is currently still up to the courts as the NCAA has filed a 600-page motion to get his ass up out of college football, Mr. Division II national champion, Trinidad Chambliss.
Hype. Great college quarterback. He will be a Ole Miss legend. I hope he gets his next year back. And yes, he's a playmaker, but he can throw the ball better. So he didn't deserve to be in the track star category. Ole Miss is not a championship caliber roster this year, so he can't be in the championship caliber. So yes, he's a great college quarterback tier guy.
Well, speaking of a great college quarterback who might be on a bad roster, we'll see how quickly things turn around. What about Mr. Drew Mestemaker, who just followed his coach from North Texas to Oklahoma State?
Oh, he is a future golden boy, bro. He is a future golden boy. If he can, future face of college football, future golden boy, like somebody that they point to and say, "Oh, he's the future." Now, mind you, when he played two ranked teams last year, and they were a group of 6 teams, they were Tulane, and he played one other team in the group
USF.
of 6. Yeah, and they were both ranked. He had 2 bad games, so I need him to play. Like, the competition is going to be better overall because they're playing in the Big 12. But if he can just put together what he did last year against this better competition, he's going to be projected as a number 1 draft pick in 2 years.
Somebody who was projected as a possible high draft pick after this season, and is now has people wondering if they'll get drafted at all. Mr. Avery Johnson out of Kansas State.
Avery Johnson. He's a runner.
Were you trying to do the accent? Were you trying to do an Avery Johnson accent?
Yes, Avery Johnson. I got to put Avery Johnson in the track star category. He is electric with his feet, but I still believe, like I'm still a believer in Avery. Like, I believe that he can be a good enough passer to where he changes the way everybody looks at him. It is going to take a huge leap this year. He's got Kleiman now, right?
Yeah. Who he had his sophomore season.
Yeah. So I believe that that's going to be a significant change for him. But he's stuck in the track star category until proven otherwise right now.
Yeah, I think one of the worst things that can happen to a college football quarterback is you get that draft evaluation and they're like, hey, so what we really like to see from you is, like, can you hang in the pocket?
Yes.
And I don't know for for fact that that's what happened to Avery Johnson this last year, but I do know I watched enough of the Big 12 where, yeah, he wouldn't run. He would not. And he is elite at it. And he's not using and it reminded me of Caleb Williams' final year at USC, where he wouldn't take off running even though he's the best athlete on the field.
Oh, see, it reminded me of Khalil Tate Amsden.
Yeah, but instead of not running, all Khalil Tate would do is walk over to the sideline and let Grant Gunnell play.
And so for the people who have been with us as Pac-12 Apostles, you will enjoy that reference.
I was a fan of – I do like it when the runners run. I think you should play to your strength. I thought Bryce Perkins here at Virginia was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Because, yeah, do whatever it takes to win. You're a college football player now. We'll worry about the NFL later.
Facts.
P.S. Bryce Perkins, Super Bowl ring. He was the third-string quarterback on the Rams. Okay. Shout out to Matt Stafford, but he did get a ring. All right, so let's move on to the man who rocked the college football world right after the end of the season, left Duke for Miami, Mr. Darian Mensah.
NFL draft darling. Oh, man. I considered the championship caliber, but I know at Miami is going to be better in a lot of spots. Their defensive line will not be better, even though that they are very talented there. There's no way that you're going to be able to reproduce what you got out of Mesidor and Bain, immediately, maybe in 2 years. And even though they're good players there, that's a lot of veteran and old guy production to get out of like sophomores. So people are like, well, they were in the national championship. Yes, that doesn't mean that they were the second best team, even though that they were really good. They got in barely. And they're still the team that lost to SMU and Louisville last year. So if they repeat that, you might not get in the playoffs. So there it is.
I mean, this might be the one that you and I disagree on a little bit. Cam Ward was the number one overall pick with a number one wide receiver who ran a 4.85. So Darian Mensah in that offense, he might, if they win, he might be Triple Crown worthy. We'll find out. Next up.
Yeah. Because if so, he could actually be in that elite Heisman category, like Heisman National Championship category.
All right. Next up, I'm not even going to say this quarterback's name. I'm just going to sing the commercial jingle. Like a rock. Oh, like a rock. You don't remember that? This little pickup truck commercial? All right. You're going to pretend you're going to leave me out here on an island. Mr. Gunnar Stockton. Oh. The old, reliable Chevy Silverado of quarterbacks.
Yes, dude, he is built for it tough. He's like one of them old school metal ones. I am going to put Gunnar Stockton in the championship caliber. And this is strictly because of the team he's on. If he were on a different team, this would not be championship caliber. I would probably put him in if he were on a different team, probably a hype category, great college quarterback. Well, yeah.
Or a track star, too. He can run a little bit.
Definitely could be a track star.
He's for sure the guy I might want to go to battle with, though. He's tough.
Yeah. He's accurate. He's the guy who shoots all the bullets and then throws the gun at you.
I do worry he had a bunch of wide receivers that ended up at the combine that actually didn't do that much their last couple of years of playing with him. But he doesn't make mistakes, and I love that, and he's tough. How about the tallest man on the planet? Taller than some of the other 6'6" guys on here. C.J. Bailey, North Carolina State's own.
Future face of college football. I don't know if it'll be at NC State after this year, but the kid is good. I'm excited about him.
How cool is it to see him play well when away from Jeremiah Smith? Because you kind of feel like maybe people thought, you had the number one player in the country at receiver.
Yeah, so of course you looked good. Nah, I was actually good. You probably underestimated me.
He's tall as hell, though. All right, so let's go with The man who brings all the page views himself. Probably should have led off with this name for the algorithm's sake, Mr. Arch Manning.
Arch Manning. Arch Manning goes in the NFL draft darling category. Oh, they love him. Oh, they love talking about Arch Manning. I don't believe Texas is a championship team, so he can't go into championship caliber. And if he's not championship caliber, he's not going to win the Heisman Trophy, so he'll just be an NFL draft darling. If he comes out this upcoming year, maybe. If he comes out.
If he comes out. Wait, he just had a foot surgery?
He did just have a foot surgery, so now we got excuses for last year because Cooper said he was hurt all last year. So we shall see if he just comes out and he's good, like a solid quarterback. And so, yeah, but he will be a draft darling.
He's already better than I thought he'd be. Earlier, not ultimately, but earlier. I thought it was going to take a lot longer to adjust from the level of competition he played at in high school. Well, Manning is one football family. The Bachmeyers are another. What about Mr. Bear Bachmeyer?
Right now, right? Mind you, he was a true freshman. They didn't put too much on his plate, but he's a runner. He's a track star. He's wearing number 47. We can't take him fully seriously in number 47. Sorry, Bear.
And his name is Bear.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
He does have an alliteration, which is elite.
It is. I was a fan of his brothers as well. They've been a
Tiger
fun
Bachmeyer
family to watch go through the and Hank. Good old Hank. How about somebody who, if you could draft someone after their freshman year, might have actually gone in the first round, and now he's not even in the destination that he started at, and that is Mr. DJ Lagway.
Ooh. Portal bound.
Really? You
Yes.
think he's got a limited time at his father's alma mater?
Yeah, at Baylor, I think that So obviously his head coach, Dave Aranda, has had some issues offensively. He's had some issues defensively. They both haven't matched at the same time. Lagway blew up a couple times last year. In that 5 interception game, he didn't even know what he was just throwing, he was just chucking the ball. Just didn't even know what he was doing. Like, he has lost his confidence on some level, and I believe that it would have been good for him, probably best for him to take a what's his name? A Dante Moore year, where he sat down behind a good quarterback and just humbled himself. But he didn't do that, and I believe that because of that, and it's not going to go well at Baylor this year. And if that happens, Dave Aranda won't make it, and I don't think that he'll make it with the next coach, because he'll probably bring his quarterback with him. So unfortunately, until some things change, some humility hits, he'll probably be back in the portal after this year.
I will say this: he is with a hell of a quarterback coach in Jake Spavital. It's the man who brought us Jared Goff. He turned Sawyer Robertson into a NFL caliber guy. So if anybody can do it, but at your father's alma mater is tough. We watched this happen with Jaden Rashada. The expectations are going to be high to live up to the blood going from one guy to the next, and sometimes that's a high pressure situation that you got to get yourself out of. So next up, let's go with speaking of people who hit the portal to forge their own path, Mr. Sam Levitt.
Tyra Banks, we were rooting for you. You went to Arizona State. You got with Kenny Dillingham. They make you a household name. And then you just bail. Like, in the middle of the season, you were already out. Had 2 feet out the door, but you couldn't get out yet because your coat got caught in the door. Somebody had to come open the door to let you out. So I don't like it. He was transferring hurt. This has all the hallmarks of not working out the way that you wanted it to work out.
I am opting out of the conversation so I don't say something that I ultimately end up regretting, because I do think that this is a fan base that would have killed for him, and now they don't care whether or not he gets killed out there with that O-line. We'll see what bringing in Seton does, and we'll see. And he's very talented, and best of luck to him in his future endeavors. Speaking of which, we do have another quarterback who hit the portal, who we kind of loved. We put him in our underrated list, and that is Colton Joseph, who is now at University of Wisconsin after starting out at Old Dominion.
Ooh, Colton Joseph, I got to put him in the runner track star category, because he ran for over 1,000 yards last year, threw for a little over 2,000. Hopefully, he gets more opportunities to show his arm at his new spot at Wisconsin, and we are going to pray that he gets wrapped up in bubble wrap. Just at least get through eight games, please. 8 games. And because Wisconsin quarterbacks have not had such luck recently. So, yeah, he's a track star right now.
How about another transfer, this time from former national championship participant, Texas Christian, to reigning national champion, Indiana, and that is Josh Hoover, who's coming out of the air raid and headed into Bloomington to run that quick throw offense that they got out there.
Championship caliber quarterback category, but it's got an asterisk because he's with Curt Cignetti. He just won the national championship. We can't fully math how this is going to work at Indiana because it's Indiana. We don't know how the next transfer portal is going to be. Can he do it again? If you do it once, it's an accident. You do it twice, you can really do it. And the beginning of their schedule stinks. Like, it's only comes down to a couple of games. Josh Hoover was putting the ball in a lot of danger when he was at TCU. But the difference is that he shouldn't be asked to do quite as much because of what Indiana does offensively. But he's not as good of a runner as Fernando Mendoza. So I'm going to asterisk it, but he's in the championship caliber category.
The one thing I worry about with Josh Hoover is the one thing I've never seen out of Gunnar Stockton. You have to go all the way back to his junior year of high school to find it. Is, one guy doesn't turn the ball over and the other one makes a habit of multi-interception games. And so Josh Hoover, a disciplined Josh Hoover, is one of the most dangerous players in all of college football. He will throw it to the other team, though. All right, George, pray for me on this one. I'm going to give it a shot. Here we go. Jaron Kiwi Sagapuitelli.
That's very close.
God dang.
Jaron Kiwi Sagapuitelli.
Sagapuitelli.
Future face of college football. And if they can,
so I'm going to have to learn his name.
Yes, or just JKS.
I want to be respectful enough to. I'm going to land this plane at some point.
Yeah.
You like him, and you think he can rock with Cal at least another year after this one.
Oh, I don't know about that, but he will for sure be at Cal this year, and he's going to play well. He's got a new head coach. The future is very bright.
Okay, enemy territory here, Mr. DeMond Williams Jr.
Ooh, Tyra Banks, we were rooting for you. He has turned in a matter of hours, he went from Washington fans, even though that they didn't love some of the stuff they saw at times, they were like, he's our guy. He should have been in the Heisman category. He should have been in the, potential national. He's everything. We love him. To that midget can't throw the ball. He stinks. So I think that the relationship with him has been soured with the fan base. I don't think it's fully repairable, even if he plays great. Even if he wins the national championship, they'll still be like, he's cool and all, because of the way it happened. But he's into Tyra Banks because everybody at Washington was rooting for him, and now I'm not sure if everybody is.
Man, I love Demond. It is not easy for a fan base to read the words, I need to do what is best for me and my family, because the unspoken part of that is, and it's not you.
Yeah.
And so, you might have thought you were being respectful, and you might say like, oh, haters are going to hate. I'll just win them over with my play. But that leaves a lasting impact of like, if you had a choice, you would be gone because you don't believe in us.
Yep.
And this that we're building. And that is a jagged pill. How about another college football playoff participant from the 2025 season? Someone who does a little bit of everything, Mr. Marcel Reed.
Marcel Reed. He is going to go in the hype, great college football quarterback territory. Now, granted, he may make a big leap as a passer, but at this point in time, I believe he's just a good college quarterback. He can make plays, but he's got blow up potential too. And I don't believe that Texas A&M is a national championship caliber team. Last year was a lot to do with the schedule. They were a very good football team, but some of it had to do with their schedule, not having to play the top teams in the SEC, which is why they only finished with one loss. So, yeah. One loss in the regular season. So, yeah. So, I'm going to go with that.
Okay. How about Mr. CJ Carr? Notre Dame quarterback, freshman
Heisman elite category. He is part of one of the few teams that can win a national championship. I believe that can win a national championship this year. And he is, I am a fan. I'm a CJ Carr believer, a CJ Carr truther. I believe he's got a chance to do all of those things.
I'm one of those people that like gives CJ Carr credit anytime. Like if Kenny Minchie goes off this year, or if Steve Angeli gets healthy and does some positive things, every single one of those things is going to be a credit to CJ Carr for me, because he chased those guys out like as a younger guy. So super, super impressive. Our first person in the top category. What about another, at one time, at least halfway through the season last year, the freshman that everybody was talking about, the freshman that opened 1,000 wallets in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Mr. Bryce Underwood.
Ooh. He is in the portal bound category, along with DJ Lagway. Now, granted, I hope that this kid plays well. I do. I'm not sure how him and Kyle Whittingham are if they're gonna mesh fully. But Kyle Whittingham is going to play the quarterback that he feels like is going to give him the best opportunity to win. Now, mind you, he's not always right, because he didn't start Cam Rising when he got to Utah. And then he figured out he was the best option. But I do believe that Bryce Underwood, that it could go left. So I'm going to put him in the potential portal bound category, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Okay. Michigan fans are going to hear that and they're going to be like, portal can't be portal positive, because where can you go that's better than Michigan? And so that might be portal derogatory, but he also might need again, what not a lot of people recognize is the most touchdown passes any Michigan quarterback's ever thrown for in a season is like 25 or 26. Is low historically bar. It's like the Cleveland Browns of college football, but they win. Right? Like there's just, you can't point to a franchise QB in their history. Okay, so
Tom Brady, who they were jacking in and out of the lineup for Drew Hansen, so they couldn't even identify that.
Drew Henson, let's be fair to the former New York Yankee. I know that's not your team. And Dallas Cowboy, former Dallas Cowboy, Drew Henson. How about Lenoris Sellers, South Carolina?
Oh, he's going to now. Lenoris Sellers, he goes into that Tyra Banks category, and I don't believe it's for his own fault. It was we were rooting for you. He does have Bryles over there as his OC now, which should dramatically help his situation. Brooks Austin told us earlier that both of the tackles are out for spring ball. If they don't protect him better, and if he doesn't take a big leap as a passer, because he took way too many sacks, some of them were on the O-line, some of them were on him. He doesn't trust what he's seeing all the time, so he holds the ball. We were rooting for you, but I think that his thing could not be self-inflicted. This would be more, Shane Beamer's doing. And some bad luck at O-line.
Yeah, he's on the Brian Brom end. Like, the longer you stay, the more warts we see. But at one time, people were thinking he was a future number 1 overall pick. So we'll see how that goes. Kevin Jennings, who you had to correct me when we were talking about Kevin Jennings yesterday, that I was thinking about 2024 Kevin Jennings and not 2025 Kevin Jennings. This man has stopped running.
Yep.
Kevin Jennings, a pocket passer.
I thought
now.
it was so funny because that's the perception that you get of him, because he's very athletic. He extends plays, but he don't run past the line of scrimmage very often anymore. So he threw for a lot of yards last year. I'm putting him in the great college quarterback category, the hype, because he's done a good job. He is not going to be a championship caliber team, but they're going to win a lot of games, and he's a good quarterback. So, yeah.
Someone I know that you believe in, and people might be surprised that you're a believer. Rocco Becht.
Yes, I just like his grit. I like his toughness. He's coming over from Iowa State to go to Penn State. I think it is going to go well, and he's going to end up an NFL draft darling. I believe he's going to go off and have a Brock Purdy type situation where he goes and he plays well in the NFL whenever he gets to play.
He's going to be the Ariat Gene spokesmodel, like Mr. Brock Purdy. So we did talk about one quarterback who, Drew Mestemaker, who didn't start in high school and then took North Texas by storm. But Drew Mestemaker got his ass kicked by a certain quarterback in the same conference, Byron Brown, who is now at Auburn with his former college coach. How do you feel about Byron Brown? Do you think his best days are behind him, or do you think the legend will continue to rise out there in Alabama?
Oh, the legend is going to continue to rise. He's in the hype, great college quarterback, and could be an NFL draft darling if he can pick up his look more like a passer on a consistent basis, because he's a better passer than John Mateer, but he also is not in the elite type of category of that. If he can get in that, he'll be an NFL draft darling. But right now, great college quarterback, and potentially, if he were on a different roster, could be a championship caliber quarterback.
And he got some Jalen Milroe in him too, where if he needs to go get those yards with his legs, he will. He could take over a game with his legs if he needs to. Well, I saved the best for last. Dante Moore, Detroit product, former UCLA roster member, and current college football playoff participant with some big wins under his belt. He was a 5-star, starting to justify that 5-star. And you've said this is Oregon's best shot at a title, maybe that they've ever had. Where does Dante Moore belong in these tiers?
Unfortunately, Ralph, he's a track star. Nah, I'm lying. Heisman elite category quarterback. This is a man that is going to prove that he can put the team on his back. He will prove that he won't have 2 left feet when he's running more. I'm excited about him. Yes, Heisman elite category. championship caliber quarterback, plus being able to take the hardware home too. I think it's a two-man race for the Heisman with a potential national championship too, and I think that is Dante Moore and CJ Carr. That's it.
You know why that category matters to me?
Why?
Because the Arizona Cardinals are going to be picking number 1 overall next year.
Damn.
You heard it here first. Dante Moore, future Arizona Cardinal.
Nope. Somebody throw the game at the end of the season. But you guys, though, that is the show today. Make sure that you guys like, share, subscribe, get notifications, tell a friend about the show. I'm George Wrighster. He's Ralph Amsden. Catch you guys later.